Today on Austin's American Flyer YouTube page, we're going to visit the shelf where we'll take some cars that have been waiting to be prepped for service. And I'll walk you through a few of the things I do on cars. We'll also step back in time and take a look at some cars that I've pulled basically out of the trash. We'll have some fun getting our fingers dirty. This is a shelf where I place cars and engines that need to be refurbished. And approximately a year ago, I picked up this set that you'll see in this old brochure. And aside from getting the engine up and serviceable, I have delayed doing anything else with the rest of the set. So the video that we're looking at today is going to be about getting the rest of the cars serviced and ready to roll. One thing I might point out too is beside this crane is a red caboose that did come with this set. However, if you look back at that brochure, you'll notice that there was a caboose or a work caboose that followed the crane. I don't know when, but apparently that car was replaced by this more traditional caboose, unless there was some sort of change in the set, which I doubt. So I'm actually currently looking for one of those work cabooses to finish out the set. One other thing you'll notice in these cars is they're in very good shape. While there's a bit of white residue on some of the couplers and wheels and on the hoist itself on this crane, you don't see a lot of play wear. One of the things that I discovered recently was that if you have American Flyer cars or engines that have the white showing up on them, that is a byproduct of the type of plastic that was used 60 years ago. Heat is actually a great way to cause that white to dissolve, and then just a gentle cleaning, wiping with a Q-tip or cotton bud, as our friends across the pond like to call them, will remove that. And you have the option of also using cotton swabs dipped in alcohol and rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, which is how I used to do things. This is much quicker and does a much better job of getting everything in the nooks and crannies than using the old style. After I clean up the cars, then I go after some of the metal. And in this shot here, I'm working on the trucks and the wheels. This is a flashback to a set of cars that I purchased from an auction 2 years ago. And you can see the one caboose that's clean is where they ended up. But the three cars on the left, plus some others that aren't in this shot, are where things started. I can only ascertain that these cars were probably in a barn somewhere. They were unbelievably dirty. Here's a picture of wheels before and after on two of the cabooses that were lit, so you can see the contrast between the dirty and the clean. But back to the project at hand. After I get the cars cleaned up, the wheels cleaned up, I like to add a little bit of lubrication to the wheel axles that go into the side of the trucks. A few years ago, I picked up some low temperature food grade grease, and that you'll see me applying shortly. But this particular caboose had gotten a little bit of rust on it, so I decided to get out my Dremel tool with a wire brush on the end and started to gently go after the sides of the trucks, giving them a little bit of polish. Also took away that little bit of rust that was on that one truck. And while I was at it, decided, well, let's just go ahead and finish the job up right. So very carefully went after the ends of the caboose, being very careful to not let the Dremel get away from me and mar up the otherwise very, very clean sides of the plastic shell. Again, this caboose has had extremely low play wear on it, and there's nothing broken, there's no scratches, and every detail on it is real crisp. So I wanted to do my best to not mar that. So as you can see, I'm bracing my hands with the desk and workbench area, again trying to be very, very cautious to not damage things. But now that is a little touch-up is done, I'm going back to finishing any additional cleaning on the ends of the wheels now that they're free from the trucks. And there is the tube of low temperature food grade grease that I'll put a little dab in the inside journals on each side. With this style of older link coupler, if you gently use pliers and slightly bend those getting back to the top of the arch bar truck, closest to the underside of the car, that is a good way to gently, and I mean gently, pry them slightly away from the axles. And again, you don't want to do much bending, and just enough to get the wheels out and then put things back as you can. This is also a great time, which you'll see me doing here, to make any other fine adjustments that need to happen. Once I put the trucks back into the position that I believe they were in, I'll spin the wheels, check alignment, and if there's any adjustments that need to be made, then this is where I do that. I didn't videotape this, but on the crane, I actually found one of those trucks was a little bit out of square, so made some final adjustments. Here I have a slight gentle cloth that I just kind of went over the cars with just to remove any dust. And as you can see, the cars are in remarkably good shape. All I did is did a little bit of spit polish on them, and even though the lighting's not the best, you can tell that, wow, these cars look really, really remarkable. As always, thanks again for tuning in, and if you have any comments or questions, please leave those below. And as always, enjoy your American Flyer trains and tell your friends.